Hey guys, wanted to do a quick video. I wanted to talk about my Mosin nagant sights, and later on I'll do another follow-up video for the glass bedding. These are the sights for my Mosin nagant, and you can see they're currently kind of in the white. I've been working on them a little bit, and just doing a lot of sanding and finishing just to make them look a little bit more presentable. You will notice that my pins underneath broke. I'm not too concerned about it. Once they're inserted, they pretty much stay put. And really, once they're in a single shear, they should hold. So, this is the front sight. This is the original globe. Focus camera. So, what I did here is I took the original globe. Eventually, this thing will focus. Okay, there we go. So I took the original globe and I drilled out the original center post. What I did was I threaded that, and I took a number 8x32 machine screw, a long one, and chucked it up in my drill press after I had cut off the head. And I used a needle file, a jeweler's file, to turn that until I got the shape that I wanted. In this case, it's just a post with a ball on top. Eventually, I'm going to coat the top of the ball in either gold, white, or orange, something like that, something contrasting. Then I added a set screw at the bottom so it can be adjusted for height. So you loosen the set screw and you can turn that center post up and down. Turned out pretty well. This is going to be Duracoated at some point, and once it's Duracoated, it'll be flat black like the rest of the gun. So there you have that. I think that was a really elegant solution to having an adjustable front sight. Now the rear sight, this one's pretty interesting. You'll notice that I have this extra piece up here. This is brazed in place. You can kind of see the bronze brazing. What this is a tube nut. Basically, or a rod nut, sorry. A rod nut is meant to join two pieces of threaded rod together. It was an extra long nut. What I did was take a 5/16 rod nut and chucked a 5/16 rod in my drill press. Put a nut on top of it to essentially lock the two together, and turned that rod nut in the drill press. I don't know why this phone is killing me. Turned it in my drill press and rounded it with a file until the outside of it was round. Then I used a rat tail file and carefully centered it in the notch and filed it. It looks like it's offset. That was where the notch was. I kept it centered and carefully filed until the center of that was even with the top. Once that was even and the size was about right, I held it in place with a small clamp and then brazed it in place. Then I took a number or a 5/16 set screw, and what that does, I'm taking this out, what that does is allows me to change the size of the aperture. This right here, I don't remember what size this is. It might be 1/8, but I ended up taking off the back of it until I get about an 1/8 of an inch material of a shoulder inside. This will also be coated, but it's just a set screw. That's all there is to it. But this becomes my aperture. So I can change the size by getting several different 5/16 set screws and drilling several different sizes. I believe I have one that's, I don't know, 7/32, something like that. But it's simple to swap them out. You can change them for target, for hunting, for a number of different reasons. And what I did at the back was use a center punch Once this was all assembled, I used a center punch inside one of the threads to create a divot inside the thread that basically is a stop for the set screw. That hasn't proven to be totally reliable, so what I may end up doing is bending the top of that down just slightly, of the tube nut, or the nut that I rounded. I may use that to bend it just slightly to create a more positive stop. It'll be a slight indentation, but the result, once all of this is coated, will be a factory-looking sight. This will look like it almost came out of a Russian factory, the way it was intended. When I first assembled this, it was a careful measurement. I also made a barrel ramp that I'll show you real quick. I hand fitted this barrel ramp. I cut my barrel off to make it a 24-inch barrel, and then handmade this out of 3/8 plate steel. It was a lot of shaping and careful measurement to get the height just right. I actually had gotten the height so close that when I went out to the range to sight all this in and see how it worked, my accuracy was dead on where it was prior. So I think I did a pretty good job. But what I did was take this 3/8-inch plate, and I came up with a cut that I liked, or profile that I liked, and I cut it off close to that. Then on the bottom of this, of course, it has to be rounded to fit the contour of the barrel. I used a Dremel and locked it in my vise and just slowly cut a center channel. And once that was done, and somewhat close, I knew I wasn't going to be dead on, I put it on top of the barrel with that was wrapped in a piece of sandpaper. You want to put it all the way to the end. Your barrel tapers, so when you put your sandpaper over it, you actually are effectively making the barrel larger. I used the cutoff section of the barrel and measured where it was closest with the sandpaper to where I actually wanted it. So what you see is I got a very tight fit. It matches the barrel. Now this isn't perfect. It's not completely symmetrical. It's very close. But this, and then I used a triangular file, needle file, and this actually does slide in and lock into that. It holds it very well. You actually do have to use a hammer and a drift to get it over. It works. It just was very tedious, but something I enjoyed doing, and I know that I did it right. Also, when I cut off my barrel, I went ahead and I recrowned the barrel. I used the brass screw method with sandpaper. Essentially what I did was take sandpaper and run it back and forth over this to round the outside of it, after I'd made sure that my cut was square. And then I used lapping compound on a brass screw and a drill to get the inside of it. The crown on this is actually very good now. There's not a single nick. It is very effective at getting a good crown. And this thing should shoot very well. I haven't slugged the barrel yet. I will do that and come up with some hand loads for this gun. When I do that, that'll certainly help the accuracy of this weapon. But there you have it. There's the sights that I made. Hope you enjoyed that. I think they worked out very well. And hopefully you get some ideas from this. Thanks for watching. Leave comments or questions below.